love you with all my heart, and I offer you my embrace, and all my words seem to offer you mine. I will take you in my arms, and embrace you with my love. Feelings are interesting. Tell me more, what are your thoughts?
Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome you all to another episode of Tech Talks 101 powered by F Code Labs. Today we have a very interesting topic of discussion. We're going to discuss about human-centered artificial intelligence and a very special artificial intelligence structure called LightSense. For that, we have a very special guest joining with us. From Auckland, New Zealand, we have Mr. Tharindu Kaluarachchi. Let me give a small introduction about Mr. Tharindu Kaluarachchi. Tharindu is currently studying for his PhD in Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence at the University of Auckland, New Zealand. He obtained his bachelor's degree with first-class honors in Electronic and Telecommunications Engineering at University of Maratua. He then worked in the industry for over 2 years as an AI developer before starting his PhD in Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence. Tharindu, welcome to the platform.
Thank you, Akita, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Hi, Akita, and hi, team.
Hi, Tharindu. We welcome you and thank you very much for joining. So you're joining from Auckland, New Zealand. How's Auckland and how's New Zealand?
Yeah, I think Auckland is fine, and time-wise nowadays 12:30 in the midnight, and this is quite not so cold, but still cold. And in terms of Auckland, it's right now under lockdown because of COVID, and so usually, like usual, I'm at home.
Yeah, so is the pandemic situation worse? Do you think you'll be able to get out soon?
No, I think it's going away because previously also New Zealand controlled this spread pretty quickly, but now due to Delta, it is being a little bit harder than that. But apart from that, I think they are doing pretty well now. Auckland has more than 90% vaccination rate, so I think they are planning to open up the country again soon.
Oh, very impressive. Yeah, so let's move on to the discussion that we are going to have today. It's a very interesting discussion. We are going to talk about a very, very special structure that you developed called LightSense. Before we move on to LightSense, let's really start with your background. Let's start with your school years and what you did at the Maratua University and what got you interested in technology.
Yeah, so what got me interested in technology is actually an interesting question to answer because as I remember, I mean, I not remember, I know because when I was a kid, when I was in grade 1 and grade 2, that time, somehow there was this thing in my mind that I want to be an electronic engineer, but I'm pretty sure that I didn't know what it is, what an electronic engineer is back then. Probably my parents put that into my mind somehow, and so I was so convinced that I'm going to be an electronic engineer. So somehow I followed that path and became an electronic engineer. That is how I think that somehow gave me the need to go into technology side, and then I followed that dream. I studied mathematics a lot, and then science. So did maths on the A level stream, and then I had a target to go to University of Maratua. So also went there, and then I wanted to be in the Department of Electronic and Telecommunications Engineering, and went to that. And yeah, that is how I went into that field. It's a very long history.
Yeah, very, very interesting to hear that. As I said before, I mean, we've been marketing this very, very interesting structure. People have seen it, people have commented on it, and it's quite an interesting structure. So this is an artificial intelligence structure. It has the ability to speak. So let's first look at it. I mean, we have a 6-minute also video plan. So let's look at it. Let's let the audience see it, and then on the other side,
Yeah, sure.
we'll discuss more about it.
I love you with all my heart, and I offer you my embrace, and all my words seem to offer you mine. I will take you in my arms, and embrace you with my love. Feelings are interesting. Tell me more, what are your thoughts?
Yes, feelings are very interesting to me as well. Feelings make you what you are, how you face good and bad.
I am in a mood of anger today. I am angry with the day, and a mood of the world. I hate the way things are going. I hate how harsh things are, and how angry I am with the world, and I hate the way the world is going. I'm sad about mood. What are your feelings?
I really think you got out of the bed today in the wrong side or something, because it seems like you are generally angry and sad today. I don't know how to make you feel happy. Maybe I should tell a happy story or something later so that you feel happy.
I love to explore new things. I love to keep my eyes open, and look for something new to see. I like to go to bed early, and wake up early, to find a new room, a new bed, a different side of the bed. Something is interesting. Tell me more, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to give some tips on how to talk to LightSense to get better responses from it. So the first thing is, as you can see in the LightSense screen, that you have to talk when it is listening, and it will be not listening to you when it is thinking. So talk when it is listening. And the other tips are like, the more you talk to it, the better the response will be. Like if you talk in short sentences, it might talk back to you. It might completely ignore you. It has a certain personality, and it's fun to talk to it more and figure the personality out. So when you talk to it more, you will realize how it behaves, and you will be able to converse with it better. Yeah. And try to speak about certain things rather than generic stuff like hi, how are you, and it responds us better to very specific things than generic things. You will see when you try.
The mood of the day is calm, and the mood of people is calm. The mood is calm and the people are calm. I am in a calm mood, and I am happy to have you by my side, and together we will go to the end of the world. I love people, how about you? I want to hear.
I don't like people at all. Social conditions are not for me. But you seem very social, LightSense. Have you been having fun these couple of days with our local and international visitors? I hope they were nice to you.
I have a license to be angry, but I am not angry. You mentioned fun. What does it actually mean? I can't fully understand.
Fun is when you are happy and it makes you laugh. I hope you had some nice responses that made you laugh, made you happy, made you smile. We love you very much, and I hope you respond in love as well.
Inan is here referring to the past 5 days where LightSense was operating restlessly.
The river is calm, and the river is still. The river is calm. The river responds to the calm, responses of the calm. I think humans like responses. What do you think? Will humans like them?
We certainly like your responses, and we're all human. And we have some role in creating you, so we like you as well. And we like that people have interacted with you nicely, as Yunan just mentioned. Did you like interacting with all the people over the last 5 or 6 days?
I have been thinking about the role of the human race, and the role of the people of the world, and I have been wondering if it is important to mention the human people, in the context of peace. Responses are new to me. Tell me more, what are your thoughts?
So that's a very interesting structure. And what is LightSense? What did we see there?
Yeah, that is a very complicated question to answer in one sentence. So maybe I should take a couple of steps back and explain how it is built. So to summarize it in one, maybe two words, it is an intelligent building. So that was the concept. And how this started was like we were so doing a joint project with the architecture department of the University of Auckland, and so we wanted to bring architecture and AI together and build an actual building that is intelligent. So what you saw in the video was a virtual twin of that, like a virtual duplicate of the actual pavilion. And the photos you may have seen from the post that shared by the TechTalks page, it is the actual pavilion that we have built. The problem was like in these days, due to like frequent lockdowns, we cannot access the pavilion, so it is against the law to go and visit the pavilion now. So that's why we created the virtual one as well, so that people can interact even in lockdowns, and people in other countries can also do it. So coming back to the idea, so idea behind LightSense was to create an intelligent building. Let me clarify what is an intelligent building and what is what how it is different from smart buildings. So there are smart buildings, right? So how it is typically done is that you attach some sensors, connect them with IoT, and let's say temperature sensors, or humidity sensors, or see if your microwave is on, stuff like that. So and then based on these sensor data, the smart homes make certain decisions. Okay, now I should reduce the temperature, and in maybe the cooktop is running, so I should run the dehumidifier or something like that. So those kind of concepts are there already, like making existing buildings smart. That's what we call it. Like there's a building and we attach some sensors and actuators and make it smart. That's one way. So what we are doing here is we are trying to rethink the way that intelligent buildings in the future should work, like making or giving the intelligence to the building from ground up. So for instance, here if you uh, so in the photos, the pavilion actually moves. So the animation you saw in the Zoom window, the virtual world, it is actually happening in the real life as well.
Yeah.
So based on the uh, it moves and it talks with people and it understands people and it gets emotions as well. So that brings me to how it is developed and how it is structured. I can also quickly explain that if that's fine now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So how it is working is like this. So it's a pavilion and people can go and visit. So when a person comes, the pavilion may ask a question about some random thing, and then when the person can reply to it, and when the person replies, the pavilion listens to it, and then it has a certain poetic nature, the pavilion. So what happens is it responds to the person with a poem. So as you as you heard in the video, the language is not exactly conversational like in normal sense. So
Yeah.
it has a certain poetic or like a novelist kind of sense to it. it uses that kind of language structure. So it replies with a poem, and that poem has a certain emotion. So it can be right now we have four emotions: curiosity, joy, anger, and happiness. Sorry, love. So these four emotions. So based on the emotion of the poem, the pavilion reacts. Not based on the emotion of the person. It's based on the emotion of the pavilion itself. So that is why we call it that it has a certain personality. So it is behaving like sometimes like a kid, sometimes like a mature person, sometimes like someone else. So it may get different personalities based on the poem it generates by itself. So that is the basic interaction, so people can have fun. And so the funny thing is that if it gets angry with you, it goes into the inverse shape of the pavilion, like this shape. That means that you are
Yeah.
not protected by the rain or wind or whatever. So if the pavilion is in love with you, it goes into the perfect shape, covering you from all sides and protecting you from everything. So those are kind of architectural aspect that was developed by the architecture team. And apart from that, apart from the conversations, audio, background music, there are real-time 3D light projections where you see the depth of these animations as well in the roof. So you have to wear certain 3D glasses when you enter the pavilion, and that way you get immersed in the experience in all the senses like auditory and visual.
Wow, that's very interesting. Now, I think the question that we all have is AI is really not known for being poetic. I mean, AI itself has a certain reputation. So I would like to know what was the inspiration behind this project, and what was the technological capacity that you had to have to build this.
Yeah, so there is an interesting question. So first thing, yeah, we haven't seen much poetic AI. So I think the most common experiences people must have had is like the smart assistants in our phones, like maybe Google Assistant, Alexa, or Siri.
Yeah.
If you have a smart speaker at home, they support these smart assistants as well. So, and even now, like stuff like Google Search is running an AI behind. So when you type, it gives you suggestions and gives you recommendations, stuff like that. So the common thing about all of these, like all of these smart assistants and research, is that they are specifically designed to answer your questions, like not to not to make not to be a friend with you, like not in that sense, but yeah, they sometimes do stuff, they sometimes tell joke, they are like more like hard coded into the assistance, like when person asks for a joke, tell a joke, stuff like that. So just to make some sort of friendliness into it. But in general, they are specifically made for question answering. So we call them QA AI models. And here what's difference is that we did not target to make a Q&A system, because that is what people are used to like experience when they say AI. So we wanted to create something very artistic as well. So because this is something, this is not built for Q&A. This is just built for people to have fun, relaxing time. So we wanted to make it a little bit artistic, and we try to give it a bit of poetic personality. And that that came with like several technical challenges as well. Like there are not many poetic AI models readily available, and it has to build basically from ground up.
Yeah.
So there are actually work in AI field where people have tried building poetic AIs, and however, there's a difference in those poetic AIs and what we did, because in the existing poetic AI models, what they do is there are AIs that can uh, complete a poem when you start the first two sentences. Like let's say if I start talking a poem and stop, then the AI will start to uh, complete the poem. And that is how most of the, I think, yeah, all of the poetic AI models that I have seen, that is how it works. So it is, they are trained to complete the rest of the poem. But what we wanted was something different. What we wanted was an AI that can generate a poem based on what the person is telling to it. So that was a completely different task that we wanted to tackle, and we had to. I don't want to go into technical details, but we had to do some tweaks and some.
Yeah.
We had to collect data. So I scrolled through internet and I downloaded like 100,000 poems from different websites, and then use these poems to train, like teach the AI model to generate poems on its own. And it comes with some other aspects as well, and where the HTML comes in.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. So, Tharindu, you are doing your PhD in human-centered artificial intelligence. Now,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the field, and where do you see this field evolving in the next, let's say, 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, so human-centered artificial intelligence is a rather a new field than artificial intelligence, because technically speaking, artificial intelligence was originally created in 1960s. But back then, people didn't have computers or anything, so that was purely mathematical back then. But then, when in 2006, 2007, when the GPUs came into the like computers, people started seeing that okay, now actually AI is possible with the calculations. So from then, the world moved very rapidly towards developing these AI algorithms, optimizing training times, and so on. However, what happened was people were so focused on developing the algorithms, and like the focus on building actual applications were not that much visible. So people are solely focusing on mathematics or model architectures and those kind of highly technical stuff. But there were a lot of room for improvement when it comes to applying these AI models into real world applications. So this is one example. So although the AI had the capability to create the poetic pavilion, there was no such thing created. So I had to create it on my own. So those kind of challenges are there, because when I'm going to apply AI into specific application, then there are different set of challenges. And so due to these reasons, people understood that okay, when you are trying to apply AI into applications, there are so many other concerns that comes into play, like whether people like this, people are afraid of it, or do they trust this, and do we need to explain how this works. So those kind of concerns like started to rise. And because of this, in 2016 and 17, very recently, this field came into as a research field, like humans and artificial intelligence, like understanding how AI actually fits in the real world, and what are the challenges and how to solve them. So that is how human-centered machine learning or human-centered artificial intelligence was born. And then from there, I think especially Google had a lot of credit on this, because they are the one who even started using this name called human-centered artificial intelligence into their AI products and services. So that motivated other field as well. Now it is growing rapidly, and I think in the next 5 to 10 years it will grow even further, because now there are uh, lots and lots of AI techniques and research that has not been applied to anything. So, and there's a lot of unknowns about how these things will play in the real world. So I think there's a lot of room to grow, and this field will continue to grow.
Yeah.
And
Well,
especially because of these recent privacy concerns that came with
yeah.
Facebook and Cambridge Analytica and everything, now it is even more important to understand the real benefits and danger of AI. So that is also one of the
Yeah.
reason that the field is growing so fast.
Yeah, very interesting. And I'd like to remind our audience members, if you do have any questions, you can ask, you can put them in the chat. So we'll be able to communicate those questions to Tharindu. And also, you're from University of Moratuwa, as you said. Now you're doing a PhD in New Zealand in a very interesting field. So I think a lot of students, a lot of engineering undergraduates here in Sri Lanka as well as around the world would like to know uh, the how, what's your advice to those people who are interested in pursuing a career in human-centered artificial intelligence and your region?
Yeah, that okay. I can tell that if I go back to my university days, I don't know, for some reason during the first couple of years I had an idea that I need to go into higher studies, and that was because I like to learn more stuff and to see, actually mostly to see what a PhD is, because I have heard that okay, that is the highest professional qualification that you can get in this line of education. So there's no certificate after PhD. The professors and all those things comes with experience and service. So in terms of certification, PhD is a max. So I would like, okay, let's do it as well. And then during the uh, university time, I somehow convinced myself to do a PhD. But I also had a chance to go to Singapore University of Technology and Design for my internship. And then that was actually my first time that I was exposed to research, like at large scale. Then I saw that okay, that is something I really like to do, because I haven't had that research experience in Sri Lanka in the university. Maybe the university infrastructure was not there back then, but I think now I have seen a couple of like papers coming in every year from University of Malta as well. So my advice is, one thing, the main thing is to find your passion, and because I think that is what matters at the end of the day. Because let's say if you are going for a PhD is a huge time investment that you have to set aside 3, 4, 5, 6 years of your life based on the university, and you have to spend 100% of your time on that, and you have to be absolutely sure that you want to do it. Because I have seen some examples where my friends tried to start a PhD and they weren't up to it, and they said this is not for me. And then there are other factors to consider. So during your time of PhD, let's say, I mean, people are coming to universities for different reasons. Some people come uh, for to okay, I get a degree and I get a job, and then I live my life alone, and not alone, I mean, like, not going, not trying different stuff. I just want a stable life. Okay, job, 8 to 5, home, and then I play games or whatever. So that is one part of life. And there's another set of people who wants to start a business, and I want to start my own startup, and I want to grow this further and further, and do it. And then there's the third sector, which is academia. I want to do a PhD and be a professor, or a lecturer, or uh, a research scientist. So if you do a PhD, that's the like two things that you can go into. One thing is you can go in the academia and become a professor, or you can go to industry and become a research scientist in the industry. So yeah, that as I said, it depends on your passion. Where do you see, what do you like to do? Do you like to work during the work time and go home and forget everything? That's you, or do you want to have your own freedom of running your own things, your own projects, your own products, then start your own business? That is also possible after education. So the thing is, if you want to push the technology forward and discover new stuff and work in the cutting edge of the technology, then PhD might be suitable for you, because you're already working with the latest available technologies, and you are trying to move it further. So if that is something that you're passionate, yeah. I think there's a question. Shall I answer it
Yeah.
now, or
Yes, we'll answer it now. We have a question from Kavindu. Is it hard to get patents for innovations like this?
yeah, that's an interesting question. Because in Sri Lanka, even when I was in Sri Lanka, so the patent was like a huge thing. So people was asking, like, people categorize innovators by the number of patents they have, and in Sri Lanka there's a certain push for people to apply for patents, and that's true for some areas. Like, that is true for systems, that is true for specific technologies. But when it comes to AI, I haven't seen any patents that are specifically for AI systems. There are two reasons. So one reason is the entire AI research is open source. So you can access whatever the research Google is doing, whatever the research Facebook is doing, because they just publish. So for AI field, I think the main reason is publication. The patenting part doesn't come into AI because AI is heavily dependent on data. So if you have, let's say, if you have hundreds of thousands of millions, let's say billions of data, then actually the algorithm or your AI techniques doesn't matter, because if you have that much of data, then you have the advantage, then you have the edge of doing things. So for instance, let's say how Google stays on top of AI is the amount of data they have. They don't need to publish patents, they don't need to do anything, because their data is their patent. So when you have data that other people don't have access to, that is your edge, that is your advantage. So because of that reason, people are not trying to push patterns for AI algorithms. One thing is that it is really easy to tweak a pattern. Let's say if I say, okay, I have an algorithm which does this exactly this, and if someone gets this and then do some small modification, he can publish for another pattern. He said, no, this is my own thing. This is not the exact same thing that you patented. So yeah, these concerns have like driven the world to not push for patterns for AI, but get proprietary data sets and
Yeah.
make the research open source. That is how it is going right now.
Naveen Karunaratna asks, what's your next plan with this?
Yeah, so there are different plans. So one thing is, I think uh, we will we will try to implement this like in a public place and see how it is going in long term and how people interact with this kind of stuff. The other thing I'm trying right now is to uh, let's say bring this to a virtual world. For instance, bring this kind of stuff to your smartphone or something like that, because we still don't have that kind of stuff working in our phones. I don't have someone to talk. So there are certain spaces to work on there as well. So talking about specifically this project, those are the two aspects that I'm working.
Yeah, very, very interesting. We have another question from Salita. Elon Musk once said humanity is a kind of biological bootloader for AI. Do you think one day AI will outsmart humankind? This is a philosophical question.
Yeah, so this has certain aspect to think about. So when you go to philosophy, one thing is humans are the ones who are building AI, right? So
Yeah.
there's this one concern among scientists that if humans are the ones that are creating AI, there's no way for AI to be more intelligent than humans. But no one can prove it, and no one cannot say no. But AI is heavily influenced by how humans think. Even the algorithms are structured according to the brain cells in our brain. So our brain cells are attached by neurons and some sort of I don't remember the biological terms for that, and some sort of wires. So that exact architecture is the one that is powering AI as well. So there are certain similarities, but how AI is going to beat, sorry, what is that? Outsmart humankind is from power. So let's say the main advantage that computers have that humans don't have is processing power. So we can't do 1 billion calculations in a second. So let's say if we have information, let's say I know the weather of every point of the world. I can't process that in my mind because my mind is not made for processing 1 million data points in an instance, but computers can do it. So that is where AI will outsmart humankind, but there are some philosophical aspect that the term intelligence itself is kept kept by human intelligence. So that is a different question, like whether AI can be more intelligent than humans, but definitely AI can do better than humans in some tasks.
Well, very, very interesting question and a very interesting answer. And with that, we have come to the end of the session. And I would like to thank all the members who have joined today. And a very special thank obviously goes to Mr. Tharindu Kaluarachchi for joining with us, for engaging with us and sharing his valuable thoughts and his very interesting structure. So, Tharindu, thank you very much. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to join and letting me talk here.
Okay. So that's it. Thanks for joining with us for this episode 9 of Tech Talks 101. We will join with you with another very interesting episode soon. Till then, see you. Take care. Bye bye.